Hi, it's Heidi Olive. Um, I just had a cool experience that I wanted to share with you guys. Um, and basically, I've been doing a lot of work on the computer lately, and I've been going to the coffee shop near Steve's work to kind of hang out and work on the computer while he's at work. And I had an interesting experience today because um, where I sit in this coffee shop, there's actually this little kind of cubby area. I don't know what you'd call it. It's just a little separate area that has some chairs and tables, and it's more secluded, so I like to sit there so I'm not as distracted. And while I was sitting there today, this gentleman came and sat across the table from me. And I hadn't invited him to sit across the table from me, but he just came and he sat across the table from me. And he was a homeless gentleman, and he had a very fragrant smell. And I was thinking how interesting it was that I chose today for the 5th day of our gratitude challenge. I encouraged everyone to be grateful for their senses, and I was kind of interested in how my senses were kind of being challenged during this time at the coffee shop where I was meant to be working. And I was really sitting there wondering why there was this stranger sitting across the table from me, and why he smelled so bad, and why he wasn't, he was really dirty, so he wasn't necessarily pleasant to look at, or he was kind of whimpering and stuff, and that was kind of a strange thing for my ears. And I was just thinking how, like, life really sends us these beautiful opportunities to find things to be grateful for. And I was definitely grateful for the fact that I have a sense of smell. I can see with both of my eyes, and I can hear with both of my ears. And so that's a side note, really. The true story lies in the fact that I was sitting there just minding my own business, doing my work, and I just, I let him sit there. I wasn't going to say anything about him moving or anything like that. But I was sitting there, and out of nowhere, he starts whimpering, and then he starts sobbing, and he's just bawling his eyes out, crying and snot, and I mean, he was just like pouring tears. And so I was like, I can't just let this pass. I can't just let this go, like, this person sitting right in front of me, like, bawling their eyes out. I'm not just going to ignore him. And so I tried to think, I was like, what can I say? What can I do? Because, like, I don't know what he's going through, And so I decided to share something personal with him. And I shared something personal with him. I asked him, I said, would you like to hear something that I have, that I created, that I would like to share with you? And so I let him use my headphones and listen to something I had on the computer that I made. And he fell asleep into this, like, deep, peaceful, tranquil sleep. And then when it was over, he's like, I need to do that again. And I was like, that's awesome. And he's like, I forgot my problems for a minute, and I forgot where I was for a minute. And I was like, that's what I intended for this piece of art that I created. That was the ultimate goal and intention, was to provide a place for people to go that they don't have to focus on anything but what's at hand and what's in the moment, and the feeling of peace and joy that I put into that piece of art is fruiting and blossoming into peace and joy and comfort for someone else. And that's really the goal of any piece of art that I create. And I'm not just talking about music or spoken word or paintings or whatever kind of art you might have in mind. I'm thinking like even storytelling and being in the moment, being in flow, doing yoga, meditating. These things can all have a positive effect on the people around you in significant ways when you can least expect that to happen. And after I let him listen to that piece of work that I had made, he wasn't crying anymore, but I was like, so what's going on? Like what's going on? Because he had mentioned that he didn't want to live anymore before I let him hear this. And he told me this really this story that really was outside of my realm of thinking, of abuse and murder and war and all of these things that aren't always on my radar and aren't always things that I even consider that people might be going through in their life, because I haven't necessarily been through those things myself. But I saw a pattern in him that I could relate to, because I have been in a place of darkness, and I have been in a place of despair. I have been in a place of hopelessness, and I have been in a place of not wanting to live, or not feeling that life was even worth living for the circumstances that I was in. But what brought me out of those emotions and those feelings and those seemingly overwhelming thoughts is the simple act of changing from viewing everything that is wrong to viewing what's going right. And I shared that with him, and I told him, I said, I was very ill at one point in my life, and I was in physical pain 24 hours a day. And the only thing that I could do to keep from feeling despair and hopelessness and physical pain was to speak to every part of my body, from my head to my toes, and just feel the feeling of gratitude and the feeling of gratefulness that I had, that those things were working. And I didn't focus on the things that weren't working in my body. I was focusing on the things that were working in my body. And the things that are working in my body far outweigh the things that aren't working in my body. And that is the only thing that brought me out of that place of severe physical pain, severe emotional trauma, severe self-pity. That is the only thing that brought me out of that deep place that felt like it was never going to end. And I shared this with him, and he started to cry, and he said that he felt like that might help him. And I said, it's the only thing that can help you. I was like, you've only told me a little bit of what you're going through, but the only thing that can pull you out of that darkness and that place of total hopelessness and despair is to switch the way you're thinking about things, because it is physically impossible for you to feel negative feelings simultaneously while being grateful. And I explained that to him, and he said he didn't know that. And I think he was glad that he did know that now. And I left him in a place of peace, and I'm going to see him again. He's like, I look forward to seeing you again, because he goes to that coffee shop a lot, and I do too. So just, I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to share how important your story can be for someone else. And I wanted to say, don't be afraid to share deep and intimate parts of yourself with other people, because that could be exactly what they need to pull themselves out of wherever it is that they can't seem to get out of. And I'm not saying that I changed this man's life forever or anything like that, but I'm saying you never know how your story can impact somebody else. And you have these seemingly coincidental meetings with people in your life, and I don't believe that any of them are an accident. Everyone that's in your life is put there for a reason, and if you're not willing to share your story with them, then not only are you missing out on an opportunity to be able to give, but they're missing out on the opportunity to be able to receive your story, or receive some kind of golden nugget that you have for them. And so that's really what I wanted to say, is just don't be afraid to share your story with people. Don't be afraid to come out of your shell a little bit, even with perfect strangers, because sometimes you're the only friendly face that they'll see. And sometimes you're the only listening ear that they'll have. And sometimes you are the only person who's willing to smell their stench while they sit across from you and have a conversation. So please be aware that you have a lot to offer the world, and you have more than you think you have to offer the world. And it doesn't have to be a piece of art or literature that you wrote or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a physical, tangible thing that people can latch onto. It can literally just be you being present with another person, and that can make all the difference. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and sending me hearts and likes and all those. And thank you for sharing this video if it's touched you. And I just encourage you guys, go out there and don't be afraid to share yourself. Share the authentic you, the part of you that maybe no one else knows about. Don't be afraid to share that with somebody, because you don't know the personal battles that they're going through. And you don't know how much of an impact one small act of kindness could have for the rest of their life. And I don't know how my talking to this man is going to help him in his life, but I have faith and I believe that it will, because I stepped out to participate in relationship with another human being, and that will never return void. So anyway, I love you guys, and thank you again for watching. Hi to everybody who said hi, and sorry if I missed any questions or comments, but I was really focused on my video. So anyway, yeah, if you guys ever want to talk, please feel free to message me or call me or anything like that, and I would love to share part of myself with you, and I would love for you to share part of yourself with me, and that's what being human is about. It's about relationship and oneness and being vulnerable with each other to lift each other up. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.